right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. We're still talking about the drought crisis, and my guests are still with me. Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, who is the Cabinet Secretary, Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs. Thanks for making time. His Excellency FCP Ahmed Abdullahi, the Governor for Algeria and the COG Chair. Thanks for making time. And Dr. Ahmed Idris, Kenya Red Cross Society Secretary General. Thanks for making time. And Waziri, before we went for the break, we were talking about now the solutions going forward. So what is the plan going forward? Because this is nothing new even to you now. We've been dealing with this issue of drought every single season. It's only about to get even worse.
Trevor, there are issues to do with the effect of climate change that we are dealing with the drought at the moment. Probably in another couple of months we'll be dealing with France. So there is the effect of climate change. We have to restore our landscapes. Landscape restoration is a way to go for our nation. And that's why government, through His Excellency the President, is championing the planting of 15 billion tree. That is an extremely important program for our nation, because landscape restoration is the only way we can be able to combat the effect of climate change. That is, effect of climate change is very real. You know, you can go to some places where you used to have rivers, they are gone. Where some of the areas where I used to go and swim when I was a small boy, if we go there with you and I tell you we used to swim here, you say my mind is gone. Okay, so I think landscape restoration is key. But having said that, also the issues to do with putting up infrastructure which can help us grow food in a manner that is not necessarily depending on rain. That investment must be done by our nation. And I'm happy that the government of His Excellency the President, as a cabinet, we passed all what is required to be done as cabinet level in terms of putting in place the National Infrastructure Fund. And next month in February, National Assembly will pass a law to that effect, so that we can be able to get our resources and channel these resources into the National Infrastructure Fund, so that we can be able to do water infrastructure, power infrastructure, road and rail infrastructure. Water infrastructure is key. Building huge dams and irrigation projects, so that we may not necessarily depend on rain-fed agriculture. Okay. That way we'll be able to pull ourselves out of the cycle of again and again depending on the real food. Yeah. We are on the right track because the government has put in place the necessary measures towards releasing funds for putting water infrastructure in place. Okay. When I mean water infrastructure, is both drinking water and farming water. Yeah. These are very expensive infrastructure. And
let me bring in Governor on this. Governor, you mentioned earlier on that you're hoping that the long rains set on a bit earlier, but we know from research that the more prolonged period of dry land, the less the absorption capacity of the land when it rains, and therefore there's flash floods. But Egypt is 90% desert. How come we've been unable to get to a level where we can make productive land mass out of the ASALs, the arid and semi-arid areas? And yet there's massive investment that goes there. As the Council of Governors, what are we missing here?
Trevor, just picking up from where the CS left, I think there are many complex factors that affect the situation on the ground. Granted, and Ahmed will bear me witness, that with all the challenges that you see, we're not where we were, say, 30 years ago. Of course, the situation has got to us with climate change. But if you look at, for instance, borehole cover on the ground, if you look at the ponds there are, even given that, during dry season, they probably all dry up. But generally, the distance that people go to seek water, the distances to which they go to seek healthcare the distances to schools, a lot has really changed. But we need to look at the livestock value chain, first of all, and how we do it. In the assaults, it's pretty extractive. Why do I say that? In good times, you can't really discuss much with those people because they have it easy in good times. When it rains and there's pasture and there's water in their ponds and the livestock prices improve for them, it's as if they don't need government, you know. But the challenge with that is also there's very little planning for the next drought season. Yes, in places like Botswana, it only rains once. But the livestock industry has been thought through in such a way that it's a business. It's not subsistence, and it's not extractive in that sense.
So the model is what's off.
The model is what is off. Our people are on the one hand very rich, and on the other hand extremely poor within a span of a very short time. Why do I say that? Since 2022, I think, December 2022 is when we had the floods. We came in at a really bad time. We'd like come into office in a
drought, then floods.
In a drought, and then it was followed by floods.
Yeah.
But that drought was like 4 or 5 in most places, seasons that had completely failed. It was actually much worse than we were today. And then came the floods, and we had a couple of good seasons. We have already gone over the carrying capacity of the land in terms of livestock. As I talked to you today, the estimate figures we have for shots, goats and sheep, in Wajir County alone is something between 6 and 7 million. Add to that another almost 1 million camel and maybe 800,000 or so cows. If you look at the value of that at an average, price, not even the highest price when it's really good or the lowest price, we could be talking about 200 billion shillings in terms of livestock value. We had been running on radio some programs to warn people, and these programs are supported even by donors, by the county government, for the last 6 or so months, that the rains are going to fail. They look like they're going to fail. And encouraging people to try and sell.
To offset their livestock.
Yes, to offload as much as they can. Question then is, what mechanism is there to offload? And also the cultural aspect of things, because as I said, this is pretty subsistence, this is their source of food. So they'll only sell to buy something, but not to offload it in a big way. Even livestock, index-based insurance has been tried, where through the World Bank and programs that have been supported by the World Bank, we've been trying to get people to insure at least a certain part of their stock. But a lot of them would want to insure when the drought has already crystallized. So there's a lot of education, there is a lot of behavioral change, there's a lot of investment in the value chain that needs to happen, so that people are not keeping livestock just for the sake of it. They are turning it around, right? Just the way you harvest maize and then prepare your land for the next season, in a sense. So these are the discussions that we need to have. But tied to that also is the whole issue of infrastructure and opening up that part of the country. If we had roads, if we had energy, then it will be possible to even move, feed and hay stocks from one part of the country to the other, even move food as well. I saw the Minister of Agriculture discuss the issue of strategic grain reserves, and the fact that there's an element of hoarding, where he's actually asking people, can you take your maize to the grain store or we import? We have never thought as a country of strategic livestock feed reserves or strategic hay reserves. There's something that was contemplated a couple of weeks back, which has not really happened, and discussion started. This country, I think, in about a month back, had 6 million acres from which maize was harvested.
Yeah.
And there's the maize stock, right?
Yeah.
In many places, what the farmers do is keep a little of that for their dairy cows and burn the rest to prepare the fields for the next planting.
Yeah.
And we were exploring, of course we don't have the resource basket as counties. Can there be a mopping up of those stocks and crushing them and adding maybe some molasses or whatever salted to then have that bagged and even availed for purchase, if not for free distribution, to places where this livestock is likely to be lost.
Okay.
So we go through this cycle. I think it's time to actually change the thinking and to give some thought of commercializing of this livestock in these far-flung areas.
Okay.
Not to take away from everything that the minister said about the need to have dams and more investment in water, roads and energy, basically opening up that part of the country.
Okay.
The places in Egypt that you speak of is Egypt. The whole of Egypt is like that.
90% desert.
So it's all opened up.
Yeah.
Right? There's also the question of, and this is a discussion I have been having with AFAR and the Ministry of Agriculture, of introducing alternative livelihoods.
Okay.
Right? We're now trying to get the government to support the planting of dates as a crop and olive trees as a crop, the way they support avocado.
Okay.
In Mount Kenya, for instance, or parts of the Rift Valley, because these are hardier crops.
Yeah.
And if you have dates and olives, you have food.
Okay.
You won't be starving.
All right.
So these are some of the things we need to talk about.
Yeah, let me bring in Dr. Idris in this. You've also been dealing with this for quite some time, and I was reading a report there where Dr. Martins, the head of Emergency Preparedness and Response, said that we are seeing multiple health threats converging. What are these threats he's talking about, and what is the lasting solution to deal with this drought crisis?
So maybe the easiest way to understand is perhaps the situation from a dryness perspective, lack of rain, might not be, extremely bad if you were to factor in, all elements. What makes the situation terrible for these communities is the multiple shocks that they suffer continuously that has weakened their ability to cope. We are talking about communities that have just survived a drought in 2023, where a substantial part of their herd was lost. Survived a flood period 2024, again also killing a good amount of livestock, affecting farmlands, reducing productivity, decimating livelihoods. Now they're facing another drought. So the multiple shocks that affects these communities consistently weakens their ability to withstand the next shock. In addition to that, most of these communities, and this is as a result of climate change, emerging and re-emerging diseases, are being faced also with the threat of diseases. Cholera outbreak. We've just closed Kilgoris after several weeks of dealing with cholera just a few days ago, where we declared the last closed case of cholera. The communities are facing other diseases, both affecting animals and affecting humans. So the reality here, Trevor, is we have a situation where communities will continue to face these risks. Communities will continue to face this risk in a context of extreme weakened coping capacity, reduced livelihoods, reduced income. So every small disaster will have a huge impact on the communities as a whole. What is the general thinking? First, I've said this consistently. From a humanitarian perspective, we cannot have a humanitarian solution to a development challenge. What makes these communities vulnerable is the lack of development in the geographical spaces that they're operating, limited livelihood options, and of the livelihood options that are most strategic to those ecological zones, in this case pastoralism, perhaps we don't have a diversified mechanism of economic support, the range of options available to support those livelihoods, as explained very well by Governor Jir. So on our end, we have indicated as humanitarian organizations that we will prioritize and provide humanitarian assistance, humanitarian aid when it is needed in a context such as this one. But we have to think through a development programming that integrates the needs of these communities and provide a long-term solution. That is where the real solution lies. Okay.
Waziri, and Idris puts it very well that you can't have a humanitarian solution to a development challenge. So walk us through the plan now. So there's the livestock that the governor is saying are about to die. Yeah. So what is the plan for that? And then there's the people who don't have food. I hope by now you've found the figures of how much food you have and how long you can sustain this.
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor. As far as livestock is concerned, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are starting distribution of animal feed from Wednesday this week across all the counties which are affected. But having said that, it's important to look at the sustainability aspect. As government, we are putting in place CARO, that is Kenya Agricultural Livestock and Research Organization, together with NYS and the State Department for Special Program. We are starting from next season in growing animal feed because we don't want, when we have such a crisis, we cannot be able to get animal feed readily available. So NYS has huge chunk of land. CARO has huge chunk of land. CARO has expertise in terms of getting to know which species of grass or the mixture, how animal feed can be mixed to be more nutritious for camel, for goat, for cows, for sheep. That expertise, together with the expertise of NYS, put together, and you know NYS is under the Ministry of Public Service, put together, we'll be able to grow enough animal feed and get the country prepared. In case of a drought in future, we have enough animal feed to distribute across all the counties. And that will save even more money from the national coffers. That's something which we are going to start. I'll be having a meeting on Wednesday at Ranet and Naivasha with the CARO and all the researchers and officers in CARO, together with my team from NOS, so that we can be able to think through how we are going to start this process beginning of April, March this year.
So what's a more practical approach? Giving animal feed or offloading the animals, like Governor was saying? Because you're facing a community that they are also starving.
Yes.
And is it possible to distribute enough feeds for all their animals while they themselves are starving?
First of all, we have to take care of people, Kenyans, first and foremost. And we have enough food to take us for more than a month at the moment. What is critical is to have a proper network across all the counties which are affected by the drought to ensure nobody in the villages, deep in the villages, that cannot get to have this food which we are distributing. Yeah. And Trevor, there's nothing wrong from distribution of food. Even the most developed nations, people are given food by their government. So we have national government administration network, from the village elders to sub-chiefs, to chiefs, to our MCAs, to other leaders across our villages, that they have the information. They know who in this village needs food more than the other person. And of course, once we are doing these activities, we are stressing the point that this food is not meant for those who are capable. Those can be able to afford food. Because in every village, people are not We have those who have the capacity to buy. So they are doing businesses. They have shops in the market.
Yeah.
They have a way of earning a living. This food is meant for those who are more vulnerable.
Yeah, my only concern is the preparations.
Therefore, we have enough.
You just said now that you have food for maybe the next 1 month, but predictions show that this situation will go beyond May.
The prediction is that the entire month of February and March will be in this situation. But we are likely to get more rain end of March, beginning of April, and that will ease the pressure which is there at the moment.
Will it or will it make it worse? Because there's a prediction that if those are flash floods, then we are now facing damages, more diseases.
If there will be floods, then that's another crisis altogether, and we will be prepared to take care of that. But what I want to assure Kenyans, and everywhere I've gone in Tana River and other places I've been, today I was in North Hall, is that the government of Kenya, led by President William Ruto, we have enough stocks as far as food is concerned for all those who are affected in all the counties. From Wednesday, we'll be distributing enough animal feed, and we are not just talking about hay. It's hay plus concentrate plus mineral blocks.
Yeah.
They will be made available in where the animals are, not at the county headquarters. If you're talking about Wajir, not at the Wajir town, but where the animals are, because the animals have migrated to the nearest areas where they can be able to get pasture.
All right.
And some of them are even near the boundaries of our national parks. So we have a network to ensure the food, animal feed will be where the animals are. Continuous, massive distribution of food is going on as we are speaking. Today in North Hall, I have fragged off a number of trailers carrying rice and beans to be distributed across all the sub-counties in North Hall constituency. And not only in North Hall constituency, but in all sub-counties which are affected by drought. In the 23 counties, we are in process. It's the process ongoing of massive distribution. You wonder when one of the member of parliament of North were talking that before they were receiving a small amount of food, but at the moment they are receiving huge range amount of food than before. This is the effort of the government, this is the effort of our president to ensure all Kenyans who are affected, no Kenyan is going to sleep hungry, no Kenyan is going to die because of lack of food. It is mentioned about malnutrition in Turkana and some part of Tiati. We are calling upon all the leaders, all the chiefs and assistant chiefs of these places. Please ensure the food which is getting in your location, in your sub-county, get to the people who need this food more urgent. There is enough food for everybody.
Let me bring Governor. What do you say to the people who say that the reason why we are here, first is climate change, everybody knows that, so there's always that big conversation about should we adopt or mitigate. But then there are those who say that the reason we are all here is because of corruption. Like the Arsals County, you have the CIDPs, the County Integrated Development Plans, you have the ADPs, the Annual Development Plans. Why don't you craft something that enables the people in the different ASAL areas to have a sustainable lifestyle? And yet there's money coming through in terms of devolution. So some people say this is simply cause of corruption.
No, I think that narrative in the last couple of weeks was espoused by someone who was trying to get to that region after having said a lot of nasty things about us in the past. The counties are doing what they can, given their resource basket. These counties are always on an emergency footing of sorts, right? Of course, at times when it rains, they have reprieve, but our budgeting system is such that we always fixing boreholes, we always drilling boreholes. And it's just the nature of the environment in which we operate in. And Trevor, with AI today, you can Google, even in spite of the droughts and sometimes rivers also in places that it rains, it can get to dry up. You can Google how many permanent rivers there are in every single county in Kenya, right? And the fellow has been saying it's because of the leadership. In his county, there are 49 permanent rivers. You can Google how many counties pass through Nyeri County. I mean, how many rivers pass through Nyeri County by virtue of proximity to the Aberdares. In these places, we have surface runoff, which is when it rains, what you call in the flash floods, and we have to sink deep boreholes. Even in Nairobi, yeah, the runoffs is what we use to put up, those earth pans and little dams. When you have the budget of a county and you've paid your salaries and you're running your hospitals, you're buying medicines, and you are also dealing with a more expanded logistical cost, because these counties are pretty expensive, and there are no roads, you have to pay your vehicles, you have to buy fuel and all that. Whatever remains, you will not be able to do a single dam of, say, 2 billion shillings in any of those counties. That's the reality of our budgets, right? So what do? We do earth pans. That's what our resource basket can tackle. Yeah. So, and this is why I'm saying, and overall, in spite of all the news that's been made, we are much better off. You can go to the website of Kenya Medical, KPDC, yeah, and see how many hospitals Wajir has, vis-a-vis, I mean, Mandera, Garissa, and whatever. And all that is as a result of devolution. But devolution is not going to equalize us. The resources of devolution will not equalize us, right? The tarmac road to that fella's house was not done by the county government of Nyeri. This is the reality. For us to open up this country, these places that have historically been marginalized will need a bigger Marshall Plan, yeah, than devolution. Okay. Right? My county headquarters, yeah, runs on less than 3 megawatts of electricity. That's not something you can fix with county money. To pull the national grid, yeah, from Garissa town to Mandera town and to Marsabit and to Turkana will need more than devolved money. Funds, yeah, okay. And don't be cheated that there's more corruption, yeah, in ASALs than there is in the rest of the country. The difference, the developmental gap, can only be explained by two things. One, the historical marginalization. Yeah. The fact that we as a country have never embraced those areas historically. And two, the peculiar nature of those spaces, right? When you're dealing with a county that's 400 square kilometers or 639 like Nairobi, right? Or 1,000 or 2,000 like there in most of the counties around central Kenya. Yeah. Vis-a-vis a county like Turkana that is over 70,000 square kilometers, or Marsabit or Wajir for that, the dynamics you are dealing with, even the cost of provision of services, is completely different. Okay. This is the reality. All right. Yes. Let me... Growing up in Wajir, yeah, I knew the only 3 high schools at the time. Right? Of course, those much older than me probably were contending with one. Wajir High School, Sabunle High School, and Wajir Girls. Today, there are 90 secondary schools in Wajir. Is that not development? Right? Okay. All right. Let me bring in... And 10, 13 years ago, we had less than 60 health facilities. And there's only one place where you could do cesarean section. Yeah. Today, if you look at that website I was referring you to, we're probably number 6 in terms of the number of health facilities at 174 registered and licensed facilities. That's because of devolution. Okay. But devolution, as I said, will not equalize us. Okay. Thank you. Let me bring in some quick feedback here, then give you all a chance for closing remarks. And I'll start with you, Idris. The biggest question has always been mitigation or adaptation. That's a conversation that is
very subjective, depending on who's speaking. Davis Boyo says, Trevor, we waste billions on drought relief instead of planning. Build water reservoirs in northern Kenya, harvest rainwater, and end this cycle. The solutions exist. Let them ask how. Okay, that's what we were talking about in just a bit. Dixon Wanjao says, can the leaders be proactive? We were warned since October last year. Asal region is just a man-made. It can be reclaimed. Okay, Baranjao area of Murang'a was just like those areas. Kikuyu community reclaimed the land from Makuyu to Sagana. Let's be honest, if Asal opens up to the region for farming communities, drought will be a thing of the past. Engineer Nazaro says radical changes needed in pastoral communities. Ministry of Livestock should just take initiative to teach them new methods. Okay. John Musangi says the government has enough equipment. With the help of CS Ruku, they should dig boreholes in those counties to help the people before things become worse. All right. That's the last one. And Nasar, Idris, just closing remarks on this. You can also talk about adaptation and mitigation, plus what you've had here, because I know you've been dealing with this for quite some time. What do we do now? We're here because we know what's going to happen next. Yeah. March, flash floods come in. Now we're dealing with floods, waterborne diseases.
Look, I think first, it's not either or, mitigation or adaptation. I think we have to have a series of, a package of interventions that address communities, ability of communities to cope with risks, and ability to, diversify, survive. And second, I just wanted to, a number of the comments that have been made by the viewers around, are we putting enough interventions in advance? Learning from the past. On this particular drought, by the way, let's give credit where it's due. As early as August, we were convened for a coordination meeting by the Deputy President, and the first amount of money from government was released in August for interventions aimed at reducing the risk. The first 64 boreholes that were rehabilitated, the new boreholes dug by the Kenya Red Cross were courtesy of that intervention for anticipatory action, so to speak. The question now is the magnitude, how many people are affected. And in designing an intervention targeting 2.5 million people, again, it's not an either-or discussion. It has to be multiple interventions. The urgent, immediate relief that's supposed to be put in place, providing food, providing nutritional support, addressing acute malnutrition, and giving access to water. The medium-term objectives around rehabilitating existing water points, putting up new water points, and then the long-term solution so that long-term economic planning addresses some of the challenges. So I don't think as a country we need to suggest that one option is better than another at this point in time. But our priority remains, we need to save as many lives as possible and prevent the situation from deteriorating further. Okay,
do you have enough support as Kenya Red Cross?
Oh, look, I think the humanitarian funding situation globally is in a terrible situation. Last year, there was a reduction in one estimate of about 45% of total humanitarian aid.
That's almost half.
Yes, exactly. So in terms of are there resources available from the traditional partners, the international community, the answer is no. The reason why, therefore, it is critical that the public finance architecture responds to this emergency, provides a solution to this emergency is if we look out, we don't anticipate a lot of assistance. However, our development partners are on the table looking at how to support the various interventions. Priority right now, Trevor, is reaching as many children as possible so that they do not slide into the acute malnutrition phase.
You said in some areas 53%.
Exactly.
Almost half.
Exactly. And that is where the interventions that are being coordinated through the government, county governments, that's where the main objective is.
Okay. Governor, closing remarks.
Yeah, Trevor, I think we're in a bad situation, but everyone is trying their best. You can see Waziri here was in Turkana today and he's seated here now.
In Marsabit.
In Marsabit, and he's seated in Northern, seated here now. As we speak, there's probably a team out there repairing an emergency borehole. So there's a lot that's happening. Of course, Kenyans are a lot more aware now, and there's a lot more expectation of government. As I said, for the long term, a lot needs to happen. And the president has pronounced himself on this matter that, with this infrastructure bond and the 5 trillion that he's trying to raise, he will open up these parts of the country. There is need to take serious mega dams to those places because it's probably the only land left now to do serious plantation farming. It's something as a country we should have done 20 years ago. That is, if we have, if we're duly sensitized to it now and have seen the need to do that now, it's better late than never. But as of now, what we just need to do is to ensure that no life is lost, and we try and salvage as much of that livestock for those pastoralist farmers till the next decent rains.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Waziri, closing remarks.
As a ministry, we had a very firm instruction from the head of state and head of government that we do all what it takes. All the resources which are required have been provided, and we are on alert and ensuring we are mopping all the food available to ensure it reaches the farthest corners of our counties which are affected, both for Kenyans, for human beings, as well as for animal feed.
Okay.
So we are doing all what it takes, and we want to assure every Kenyan who is affected by this drought that the government of Kenya has enough resources, and we are coordinating massive distribution of food across all these 23 counties which are affected, and even other areas which are affected.
Right.
And not only that, even where there are fire disasters, for instance, here in Nairobi, we are coming in to ensure, because we have been experiencing quite a number of fire outbreaks in the city, in our areas where it's highly populated, like in Kipra, in Mkuru, in Kamkunji, and we are there always to ensure supplies are provided. And these are the instructions of the end of government and end of government and head of state, President William Ruto.
All right. Thank you so much for making time, gentlemen. Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Cabinet Secretary, Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs, His Excellency FCP Ahmed Abdullahi, Governor Wajir and COG Chair, and Dr. Ahmed Idris, Kenya Red Cross Society Secretary General. Thank you all for speaking to us. We'll keep an eye on the development situation in the 23 counties on the drought crisis. So far, we know it's been 2.5 million people facing acute food shortage. We'll keep an eye on that and ensure that they're all taken care of. On behalf of everyone who made this possible, say good night and God bless. Bye for now.